Welcome back to Big Bold Moves Abundant Life. I'm Lisa Marie Heinz, and today you're about to meet someone who will stretch your mind in the best way possible. Let me ask you this. Have you ever met a person who sees possibility everywhere, even in the places most people would miss it? That's Sue Rich. His way of thinking, leading, and creating is one of the most refreshing, energizing approaches to business and in life. He brings strategy, imagination, and heart together in a way that makes you believe bigger and reach higher. I can't wait for you to hear this conversation because you're going to walk away with ideas, clarity, and a whole new sense of what is possible for you in your own life.
We've all been there, feeling stuck in the grind.
Hi, friends. It's me, Lisa Marie, and welcome back to Big Bold Moves Abundant Life. Today, I am so excited because I have the incredible pleasure and the most incredible guest, Surich Ethrajan. Surich is the founder of Grow You Now, where he helps tech executives eliminate team conflict. Oh, he increases profit margins and transforms high-performing professionals from the inside out. And I love this conversation because it's not just about business, it's actually about people. We love to talk about people and help people lift and grow. It's leadership and it's the big, bold moves that it takes to truly thrive in a high-pressure environment. So, Surich, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much, Lisa Marie. I'm so honored to be here.
So, Surich, we're going to go down a very casual road, and we definitely want our viewers to hear about you and your humble beginnings, perhaps. I know I did a little research on your beginnings, and certainly a beautiful story. And we do talk about big, bold moves. So, before we go into a conversation about business, tell me a little bit about you and how you've gotten from where you were to where you are today.
Yeah, I think the best word I can describe is gratitude. I'm very grateful for where I am today because I would not have had all of this great awesomeness around me, the people, the opportunity, the fortune, so as to speak. Even though I'm of Indian origin, I grew up in the Middle East in Kuwait, and my family and I, we were in Kuwait when Saddam invaded Kuwait, when the Iraqi invasion happened. So we got out as refugees and we came back after the war ended. And for that reason, we have a special place in our hearts for the past president and in the American military from that regard. So we have huge high regard and love for the opportunity that we had.
Mm,
I did come to the US back in 2001 after my high school to study aerospace engineering right before 9/11 happened. And after that happened, I had to change my discipline because there were more restrictions on what opportunities that I had. And it wasn't easy either because we were still recovering from the war in terms of finance and opportunities and whatnot. So my parents had taken huge loan, reverse mortgage, and had sent me here. So I had to make a practical decision on how to change my engineering degree from aerospace to mechanical and then eventually electrical. And this is the land of dreams and opportunities. And I did get to find a job even before I started my master's in electrical engineering, in circuit design, a very competitive field. I was able to finish my master's fully funded by myself because of the job that I got, working for a professor, but working externally, everything legally, of course. And then next thing I know that I moved to California, where my girlfriend and now wife of 17 years had already moved and got my first corporate job officially after school and been in the Bay Area ever since, became an American citizen more than 8 years ago. So definitely very thankful, very grateful from humble beginnings, going through war, almost having less than $1 in my bank account to now leading a business and paying other people's salaries so they can have a livelihood. Gratitude is the biggest thing that I can think of.
That is amazing. And I would talk about bold moves. Boy, oh boy. Wow, bold moves, taking a chance, having faith, just knowing that you're
Yeah,
going to be able to
yeah,
get moving forward the next day. That's
yeah.
amazing. Wow. One of the questions I always love to ask, and it's a different definition for everybody, and that is, how do you define abundance?
Mm. I think abundance, the best way I can define it is mindset. Because talking about when I grew up, my parents took a loan. It took my mom more than 15 years to pay off the loan. So for me, taking a loan was traumatic. But right now, I know that taking a loan is actually a financial advantage. And that was because of mindset. So when I think about abundance, I don't think about finance. I think about I have these skills, I have the intelligence, I have the wisdom. I can start from scratch again. And for me, abundance is more about mindset. Can I work with fewer resources? Absolutely.
This episode of Big Bold Moves Abundant Life is brought to you by Fearlessly Debt Free. If you have debt, mortgage debt, car loans, any type of debt, credit cards, college loans, you are interested in knowing how you can pay that debt off into a third to a half of the time faster, or you would like to save a third or a half of the amount of money that you're spending on interest and fees, you can click the link below, get on my calendar. We can have a discovery call. It's a free analysis to show you exactly how much you can save. Fearlessly debt free, where we want you to live an abundant life.
And life gave me challenges and also the opportunity to win over those challenges. And that's how I would define abundance.
That's amazing. It's almost like you're reading over my shoulder because you're answering my questions before I even have a chance to ask you. So that's a great thing because we can lead. We can
There
lead
we
right
go.
in. And so
Yeah.
my next question, just hopping on what you were just talking about as far as challenges are concerned, were there challenges or even failures that you look back on now and you realize that they were actually shaping who you are and the path that you were about to take?
Oh, absolutely. Simple things as how I speak. I don't think I necessarily have a complete American accent. I don't even have an Indian accent. And there were times where, when I first came into the country, I was scared to speak. I was scared to say words, and I would interchange words. And I would get called out on that and ridiculed as well. It wasn't about speaking the right thing, it was more about being confident in what I knew and not being pushed around. It's almost as saying if someone would come and say my blue hair was ugly, I would used to take offense to that. Now, it's a very easy example of understanding I don't have blue hair. I'm glad I even have hair. I'm balding pretty fast. But in life, there are things that are not that easy to understand. So the challenges were enough where it taught me not to get offended by that and not to be bothered by that and to look past the challenge and know that it's a learning opportunity. Easier said than done. It took me 4 decades, 40 years to figure out not to succumb to challenges.
Yes, perfect. Because you know what happens as you go through 40 years, wisdom becomes a big picture in your life. And you're right, you don't have to be held back because, quite honestly, it's not my business or your business what the other person thinks or says. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
pretty
Very powerful
powerful.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about Grow You Now. So you've evolved to where you are today. What inspired you to start? Because clearly your background is so diverse. It's so amazing that you've been able to have your hand in so many wonderful opportunities, and one thing leads to another, and here you are today. So, what was the inspiration?
Yeah, a few things. One definitely is the American dream to starting your own business, making it big. And today I'm very lucky to actually have accomplished that. But the reason why I did that was I had all the opportunities, especially for someone who came from almost nowhere. I also had mentors. Along the way, I also got hurt a lot, especially by the people that I looked up to the most. And this is where I really feel that this is homecoming for me with Grow You Now. Because through my life, there were situations where I was alone. I was physically alone, away from family, away from loved ones. And I was thrown into places where I had to grow up faster than most people had to. So this is where I'm going to beat my own drums here, so please entertain me. The superhero and the supervillain are exactly the same. The superhero, like Batman, had a troubled childhood, lost his parents, so on and so forth. A supervillain is exactly the same. They have a scar, they have a traumatic background. They both are determined, both go above and beyond than the general populace, but there's only one difference, which is the super villain goes, the world hurt me. I'm going to hurt everyone else. The superhero goes, the world hurt me. I'm going to make sure the world doesn't hurt anyone else. That was my biggest driving factor to start Grow You Now. So I saw in corporate how bad behaving people hurt others. And my goal was to make sure that no one else gets hurt. I got hurt, but I don't want others to get hurt. And that's the foundation for why I started growing now.
I just had visions of you in a cape. There it was. That's
Thank you.
amazing. What a great analogy. And you're right, it's one distinctive factor between those two. And doesn't it
Mhm.
make us all step back once you hear that analogy to ask yourself the question, okay, the villain is doing villain things because of experiences that they have, but they made a choice. They made a
Yes,
decision and the decision was probably not in a favor to where our happy guy, our happy
right.
superhero is out to change the
Mhm.
world and doesn't want
Mhm.
to see people go through what they went through. So you took
Right,
your
right.
experiences and you made that decision. You clearly answered this question, and that was when you first saw that problem that there were high professionals and high performing men and women
Mhm.
in those positions, how you
Mhm.
could jump in with your
Mhm.
superpowers and help them to
Right,
see that quick little example to now turn their situations into mostly positive, I imagine,
right.
and have
Mhm.
that foundation to stand on. That's amazing. Looking at your past careers and your experiences, what were the lessons that shaped you to help you to run Grow You Now today? Were there
Yeah,
specifics?
very specifics. I'll give you an example that would be very in line with what you serve for your clients and the types of topics that you talk about. So, for example, let's take finance and let's take home investment as a very good example. So, I said that we came from a poor background, we had to take loans and things like that. So, taking a loan was really hard. Back in 2018, we had to move across within the Bay Area, California, from San Carlos all the way to Pleasanton. And we owned in San Carlos. We had a condo, and then we were thinking of moving to Pleasanton. We thought we'd buy a house instead. We were also, our family was growing, and we thought we'll go to that next step. The old me was super conservative in terms of risk, in terms of getting a home loan, because we already have one. Okay, let's not get more, let's not add more debt on top. So the old me was thinking, no debt. But I'm so glad that I went through the transition and joined my wife, on the other hand, where we kept that home in, in San Carlos, gave it out for rent, and also bought this place. And that is that abundance mindset that you talked about, where we can do that. And it's once you have the knowledge and wisdom of how it benefits you in the future, then you're able to realize that. So it was me letting go of trauma and embracing knowledge and wisdom. And once you embrace knowledge and wisdom, even if you have foundational understanding and knowledge, that really helped me. So for me, moving through companies, but also moving from one place to another and making more financial decisions truly helped. We are in 2025 today. There is no way, even if you're making 600, 800K a year, which some of the salaries are in the Bay Area for tech folks, can we even think of buying that home with that interest rate? It's
Mm.
impossible. So I think going back to your question, learning that you got to invest money to make more money is important. You got to invest time to make more time is important. So this while I do coach people in dealing with conflicts, running a business taught me how to lead my life and in return also how to coach and train others.
So you just get me excited when you talked about that because there is a lack mindset in many
Yeah.
cases, and sometimes people don't even realize they have it. And when you start talking with them, consulting with them, investigating with them, and finding out
Mhm.
where those roots come from, it does really make your eyes open and think, oh my goodness, not everybody thinks the way that I think. It's
Mhm. Mhm.
amazing to be an education student learning all the time. And it doesn't mean you have to jump into action on everything that you learn,
Right.
but how nice to be able to continue to seek and to find out what are different
Mm.
ways and to have that abundance mindset. It does make a
Right.
difference. And clearly that's what you're doing now with your clients. So let's do a logistic snafu here and just talk
Mm.
about when you are brought into a workplace or you start to work with a client. Where do you typically start with that client? And how do you uncover the real issues that might not be obvious at first?
I think the first thing is to really talk about what the client cares about. So, let me to give you more context, or for your audience more context, a VP, SVP, or senior executive will bring me in. They have a bunch of high performers who clash and don't get along with each other. They go, we need this person, but it's just such a pain to deal with them. Both people are right. So now when I engage with this high performer who's rough around the edges and no one wants to deal with them, so I come in. One of the things that has helped, and it's a little dark here, so entertain me, and I hope your audience also is with me through this analogy. I quote The Art of War with them. In a battlefield, an army of 100 is going to face the enemy. Out of 100, only 10 do the fighting. This is where the darkness comes in. The rest 90 are bodies. So I talk to these high performers, and they're part of the 10. They might even be the one out of the 10, which is the main warrior, the leader doing the charge. But they also have, as the 10, a huge responsibility more than winning the war. They have the responsibility of bringing the 90 back to their families safe and sound. So that is where, yes, I'm catering to their ego, but I'm catering to the goodness in them, that they want to do the right thing. That they want to do the right thing, not because the boss said so, not because I said so. And usually that's the tipping point where they go, I'm willing to hear what you have to say, because it's anchored on the responsibility of doing the right thing. So it's not about you're doing the wrong thing, you got to clean up your act. It's none of that. It's about why they want to do the right thing.
So, would you say that when you're working, I know every situation is different, of course, but would you say
Mhm.
that consistently with the work that you've done and the past clients that you've had, is there typically one area that's a blind spot that you can point out pretty quickly? Or is it just
Yeah,
incredibly diverse depending on the situation?
there's tremendous diversity. You're absolutely right there. There are some common denominators. So there is ego. We all have ego. I truly believe that every single person on the planet is good. Good people are capable of doing bad things. And the reason why they do that is because of ego. And most of the time, they don't understand that they are acting on their ego. I came across this is not mine. There are two people, like the professor asks a student, you're holding a mug of coffee and you're walking down the hallway. Someone bumps into you and coffee spills. Why did coffee spill? And the student goes, because the other person bumped me. And the professor goes, no, coffee spilled because you were carrying coffee. If you had water, it would spill. So we really tend to look at how we got offended or who offended us. We don't tend to pause and think, why did we take offense to that? Or what did we do to invoke that bad behavior from the other person? Recovered people pleaser here. And I realized that I allowed people to push me around. So I have to take some ownership on how people even acted with me. Easier said than done. There are some places where people are true victims, due respect for how that needs to happen. But in most cases in life, especially in corporate or when we're engaging in trade and finance and what have you, we need to pay attention to what we are doing to invoke others. So typically it's that ego that I see as a very strong common denominator where the problem usually starts.
There's that old adage, when you point the finger at somebody, there's three pointing back at you, right? And
Yep.
you remind me of even experience that I've had in large groups and working consistently in large groups over and over and over again. Some people don't have a problem telling you that Mary, Sue, and Jane, oh, they're this, that, and the other thing. And do you have a problem with them? And my response was always, no, everything is always great. I don't see it. Like you were saying, like there's no offense. I don't judge what they say, think, or do. That's just the way that I approach it and the way that I see it or don't see it in that situation where other people are so quick to bring that to your attention. So, yeah, so definitely knowing that it's us looking from the inside out and how are we going to respond? You can't change the situation, you can only change how you respond to the situation. Very good. So let's move on. And in today's fast moving, got to agree,
Mhm.
it's very fast moving. This whole
Oof.
AI thing is crazy. You have high pressure tech world. That always is one thing you can't keep up fast enough. What does great leadership look like to you?
Great leadership, it's all everything that you stand for, Lisa Marie. That's what great leadership stands for. You and we know a little bit of each other, so I don't know if your audience knows you to that extent where you prioritize your family. Charity starts at home. Whether it be faith, yourself, yourself as in you got to invest in yourself, give respect and command respect within the same breath. For all the things that you stand for is exactly how I would define leadership, the right leadership. Are you looking at how the person can actually grow down the line? Are you investing in your people? Because tell me this, when does a CEO actually truly work on a product that the end user is going to use? Almost never. If the CEO, the executive staff take care of the people who actually do the work, the people who do the work will take care of your customers and your clients. So for me, leadership is about understanding family values, understanding that people have their faith, people have their wants and needs. Address that for your employees, and the employees will then in return take care of you. Because that's how I operated until I realized I need to take care of myself. I gave my blood, sweat, and tears to all the leaders, even before they asked me, because that's what I was expecting back in return. And so for me, leadership means you take care of the people who are in under your charge, and they'll take care of the customers automatically.
And thank you for that compliment. And I feel like when I look back at early learning, it's not what is taught, but it's what is caught.
Oh,
So
wow.
early learning was always that example. It doesn't matter what if you get the car in the accident, it doesn't matter about the
Hmm.
car. Are you okay? What is the
Right.
situation? And oh, I have to treat my workers because I could close my doors tomorrow and where would they be? So we have to
Mhm.
respect them and they have to respect us. But we can't forget the fact that Grow You Now is about that conflict. It is about walking into a situation in a scenario. So conflict is part of business. We do know
Yeah.
that. What is your strategy for helping a leader turn conflict into collaboration?
Yeah. There is one North Star for turning any conflict into collaboration, success, outcomes that you want. That is making the person feel safe. If it is someone who's against you, if it's someone for you, whoever that person is in front of you, your best case scenario is to make them feel safe. And then this is why you could have all the resources to go full throttle and full force, brute force, and get them to submit to you because you might have power, you might have the resources and everything in your favor. You are wasting resources if you have to do that. When you calm people's lizard brain down because they're triggered and then they're yelling at you, they're in conflict with you, when you calm them down, you have a better version of them, a calmer version of them to deal with. So you don't have to bring out the big guns, you don't have to exhaust all of your resources and expand your day and time and energy. You deal with them in a much more efficient way. Usually, when they come and work with you, then the problem automatically starts resolving themselves. And the best analogy I can think of is how me and my wife, our relationship got better. If we both were in conflict with each other, we would have a problem. Would feel that she is talking a certain way or doing certain things, and she was the problem. And very likely, I did most of the troublemaking. So she would think that and believe that I was the problem. So it occurred to me, and I came across this somewhere. It said that your wife is not the problem. You're not the problem. The problem is the problem. It's us against the problem. My mind exploded. I'm like, that, instead of me trying to resolve it by myself, I have the love of my life, my best friend to resolve it with me. And now we both are better off attacking the problem. And so I brought that same concept to the workplace, where, of course, they're not the love of my life, they're not my best friend, but they're my associate, they're my colleague. So if we have a problem, I want to make sure that it's us two against the problem and not us two against each other. And that's what I teach my clients.
Do you have an example where maybe that is put into place with a specific situation that you were dealing with?
So I'll give you an example where 2007, I was here in the Bay Area. I was working at a semiconductor company, a Fortune 100 company, got bought by another Fortune 100 company for 49 billion a few years ago. But we were designing circuits, and I'm rather junior, and I did a really lousy job. In fact, it was technically incorrect, the design that I had put together. There was another senior engineer that just rained on my parade and belittled me in front of everyone. I did not have the wisdom that I have today, but I had the elements of all that wisdom inside, and I was doing it out of dumb luck. But I'll tell you what I did. I did take offense to it. I did feel the pain and all of that, but I did not take it out on this individual, not because I was scared. I had the basic understanding that he was also another human being and deserved to be treated with respect, regardless of how he treated me. So that was the thing that I always did. We had a reorganization and people moved. I happened to go into another organization and he was in a different one. I started thriving in this new org. He was not shown the same type of grace and kindness in the organization that he was. Information was not shared with him, and he was not necessarily purposely made to fail, but he wasn't a position for success either. The only person who guided him and shared knowledge and the tidbits of, okay, these are some files that you need to include when you're doing your design and what have you, some minor detail. The only person who did that was me. And he turned around and he said, Suraj, I belittled you. I yelled at you. He wasn't even the tech lead. He wasn't even my manager or in my management chain. I did all those bad things to you. And yet you only responded to me with kindness. I'm very grateful for that. And I'm seeing how you've actually turned out to become better at your craft. You're technically more accurate. You grew, but I didn't give you a chance. And I did not deserve a chance from you, but you gave that to me. Why? I said, just cause. There's no reason why. So when you make people feel safe, the same people who attacked you will come back and be very happy for you and praise you.
And in no part of that, there was so much compassion in your voice and how you explained it. And just because we would be such a different world, right?
You're right.
Wow.
You're right.
So the name of my podcast is Big Bold Moves, Abundant Life. So looking back, can you pinpoint one of the biggest and boldest moves that you've ever made in your life or your business? I know it's just like you're gonna have to go down and do the whole
Oh, this is easy.
view
This
of
is
life.
this is actually very easy. I'm in my home office, so the person that I'm going to talk about is probably walking around in the hallway out there. The biggest abundant life move that I made was falling in love with my wife. The best decision ever. No other decision can come as big as that. No other failure or success can come as big as that. They say, right, the best career decision you can make is the person you fall in love with and marry. Very true. And that has been my biggest thing ever.
The biggest, boldest move you've ever made
Yeah.
is to
And
secure her.
and can I share how I did that? Because I did
Sure, of
it in the
course.
most cowardly way possible. So I was visiting my friend. He's like my older brother in Pittsburgh. And this was summer vacation. And I always would go visit him and his wife. They were like my godparents, so as to speak. And my wife was coming from India for the first time to go to college in Carnegie Mellon, way more smarter than me, way more good looking than me. She just checks the box way better than me in all the things. But she was coming to study here in the United States for the first time. And I fell in love with her because I saw her in the airport and I fell in love with her. But I had no guts to ask her out. She logged into MSN Messenger. For people who don't know, that's how you get onto chat back in the day, or Yahoo Messenger. And that's how I got her email address. And I emailed her after I took the flight back to Phoenix, Arizona, because that's where I went to school, and asking her out in an email. So for me, that was my big, bold move, is to ask her out through email, hoping she would say a yes. And I still remember back then we did not have iPhones and whatnot. We did not have internet on our hands. And I go to the student computing commons where you log into your machine and I'm flying cross country. I don't know. I shot my arrow and I don't know if she's saying yes. And I come back. It's like a red eye flight. I come back. I'm tired. I haven't slept all night. I'm thinking, my heart's pounding. I go to the computing comments. I open up my email and I see the response. And she says, yes, she'll be my girlfriend.
I love this is a love story. As
And
a
it's
cliffhanger.
17, yeah, and 17 years later, we're happily married, we're successful, we are financially independent, where I could 4 years ago tell no to corporate and leave it all, start my own business. Right now, we are reducing our taxable income. We have created generational wealth for our kids. We're investing wisdom and knowledge for them. We're donating to charities. We want to contribute to other leaders like you so that we can get this message across of not just hope, but a sense that we can all make it. We can all make it through. And as long as we're part of a tribe, that can happen. So that's where we are today.
That's amazing. And again, you're looking over my shoulder, reading my questions, Sue Rich. So I'll ask the question anyway, because maybe you want to expand upon it a little bit. If you could
Mhm.
give one piece of advice to a leader who feels stuck, maybe they're battling with a conflict or they're feeling burnout, what would you say to that leader?
Ask for help.
Hmm,
Ask for help. You got to invest money to make more money. You got to invest time to make more time. You got to ask for help. You're not alone. As long as we're part of a tribe, as long as we forgive others and we're not judgmental and we're willing to do the hard work. The one thing I personally do is I'm able to sprint when the distance is unknown, but I don't do it alone. If you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with others. So ask for help.
great advice. Absolutely. I even feel like, even in my industry, it's an industry that is quiet, hush. There might be
Mhm,
shame behind it, even though people that I work with are doing very well. Debt is a
mhm.
crazy thing. So to ask for help, it's a big, bold move. And
You're right.
it takes a lot of courage, but I say it all the time. It's like the weight is lifted off the shoulders once you do ask
Correct.
for that help and you
Yeah.
lock arms and you're in yoke with somebody else, and you can go a lot further when you do have those who can push you up and pull you along
Yep.
and drag you sometimes. So, looking at Grow You Now, where do you see
Mhm.
yourself 3, 5 years down the road? What does that look like for you all?
2025 has been a phenomenal year, by the way. I've had multiple corporate deals, helping a lot of people deal with harassing management, and we're making those progress. People are gone from 250K total comp to 500K total comp, and with equity piece, that's actually much higher. In 12 weeks or less, leaders are able to bring me in and transform their entire organization. Their savings are in the millions. What I see happening in 3 to 5 years from now is that I have a lot more people under my wing, and we are crossing not just in double-digit millions in productivity, in savings that we give to corporate America. It's bleeding into three figures and hopefully someday even in the billions. So in 3 years, I think that'll be 100, 200 million in savings for corporations is what I see. Right now, I'm approaching 100 individual clients outside of corporations where I'm changing their lives. So I see that turning to at least 500 in the next 3 to 5 years. And after that, I think sky is also not the limit.
That's wonderful. So, what is the perfect clientele for you? So, I imagine you'll have an individual perhaps, or you might have the corporations. So, who is the perfect client?
If I look at my time spent, I see a tech leader, an SVP, VP, or even a director bring me in and help me to work with their high performing engineers, marketeers, product planners, so on and so forth. And they are the ones where they need to get the products out, they need to close on finances, they need to do their day job. They can do what I do, but it'll take them years, 3, 4, 5 years. And by then, the markets change. They themselves might get laid off because their organizations are not moving as fast. They bring me at a fraction of the cost of ownership and transform their teams so that they continue growing and even scaling not only within the company, but within the industry. So that's already happening with a few folks that I'm working with, people who are senior vice presidents, people who are responsible for organizations across all the geographies that we can speak of, all the major continents on the planet. So that would be my ideal client. The part that I am also passionate about are the people who don't have their voices. So I do take a few clients pro bono who are dealing with bad behaving managers. And these are people who are maybe a year or two in right after college and don't have the vocabulary to fight for themselves and defend for themselves. So I do take a few of those clients, protect them, give them the coaching so they can stand up for themselves and find either better pastures, either outside the company or within the company. But most importantly, make sure that they get the respect that they deserve. So I do have those two major vectors of clients. And I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity to do that and run a business and employ people.
So, going back to leaders and teams that you've worked with, how do you want them to know you, to remember you, to leave the experience after working with you?
I want them to realize that after they employ me, I become obsolete to them. Meaning I have taught them everything that they need to know and they can operate without me. So the operation of engagement is typically timed and it's fast and they get the value. So when they think of me, I want them to feel that their life is better because I came their way. And I'm not dependent on Suraj for the long term. I have everything that he's taught me that now I can accelerate and grow without him also. So that value is sewage comes, fixes a real problem, has monetary value, has emotional value, has life-changing value, and that he's given me the tools and now I can continue on my own for the rest of my life. I would love to be known for that.
Is there a time frame typically, or is it just
So
dependent upon?
So my programs typically last for 12 weeks where I work with one of the individuals. So what typically happens with the leader, they bring me in and we do it 5 at a time, 10 at a time. And the start and end points can be different. So we sign a contract. Each individual will work with me for 12 weeks. And I usually give 4 or 5 extra sessions as well. And what ends up happening is once these 5 individuals are done, or when they're close to being done, the leader renews the contract and then they bring 5 more individuals. So sometimes there's an overlap, there's flexibility in that aspect when people start, when people end, but it's always ongoing. But the actual individual themselves, after 12 weeks, they are good to go. And if they need more assistance, I usually have once in 3 months checkpoints where then they come and tell me, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm progressing. And since we live in the day and world of AI that we were talking about, I provide them prompt engineering packages so that they always have a hologram of me with them all the time. So if they're creating that 2-minute message to convince others for a promotion or convince a stakeholder, this is the direction we need to go. Normally, if it takes them a week to figure out how to structure that argument, they can do that in 2 minutes because not only they have the wisdom and the tools, methodical tools that I've taught them, I also provide them the prompt engineering scripts that they can get it out in 2 minutes or less and go in and win that argument.
So I have the pleasure of knowing you outside of this conversation. So I know that is amazing and that you've been working very hard on that concept and what you
Mhm,
can offer clients. So let's look at this scenario that perhaps maybe somebody's
mhm,
listening here today and they're not in a position that they have a corporation or they have the
mhm.
need of that type of coaching. Is that something that could, you're talking about presenting an argument, getting some coaching on how to put your best foot forward? Is there a way that somebody could work with you on that level as well?
Thank you so much for asking that question. The answer is yes. And I do have a few clients who directly work with me. They sign up for that same 12-week program and I coach them on that. And because they are directly working with me and not part of a corporation, I'm very generous in making sure that depending on their background, I do provide a lot of discounts for that because these are individuals. They need to know these tools so they can succeed. So I do work with them in that capacity as well.
So, one other question is, what bold moves are you making right now in your life or your business that really excite you?
Oh my goodness. I'm doing quite a lot. I'm building AI agents to scale myself. I'm building AI agents to scale non-tech entrepreneurs. That's another bold move that I'm doing on the side. Personally, I'm building backyard furniture and getting into construction work to keep me entertained on the weekends. And last weekend, I completed repainting our car by myself. So I'm really embracing this big, bold move in crazy different ways, professionally and personally.
So let's just hone in here for a second. Painting a car, like a
Yeah.
real car that you can drive?
Yeah. So we have a 2006 Honda Civic and drives extremely well. Our other car is a 2013 Ford Escape. And the Ford Escape has more than 2 times more miles than the Honda Civic, and the Honda Civic works really well. Kids, jiu-jitsu class, swim class, ballet class. So just to take them to those is why we have another car. We don't need to waste money on that. We would spend it rather on our summer vacation trip to Australia, or we're going to Costa Rica for Thanksgiving. So that's where we like to spend our money. So I'm like, okay, this car is there, but it's beaten up because of sun damage. So I need to do something about it. Sanded it, looked at a few YouTube videos, got in the side of the door, it says the exact paint combination, the color code for the car. So you custom order it, it doesn't cost you an arm or a leg, and just gave it a try. Taped it with painter's tape, did all of that, put a clear coat. Looks rather decent, and for a fraction of a cost, where now I can use that money and we can travel first class to Costa Rica in Thanksgiving.
I love it. And of course, we're talking about different places where you can find that extra nest egg. And it was
Yeah,
right there. And how amazing that you're driving cars that are great cars. And what's the point of a car? To get you from point A to point B without hopefully
right.
breaking down in the middle. So
Bingo.
wise. So
Bingo.
wise. Great, great tip just there. I'm glad you did give me more definition as to what it was that you were actually doing. I'm thinking matchbox car, he's painting it or a little model. No, you're putting your
No,
family in that car.
right.
Very nice, very nice. So, is there anything else that you would like to share with us, Surich, that maybe we haven't gone over at this point that you would
Yeah.
like the audience to know?
I want the audience to know something very important. I want them to know that people like you, Lisa Marie, are providing very valuable service. Because there's one thing where we can say all these profound things, but it comes from a place of privilege, place of having support from family, place of having financial freedom. And if you are in debt, if you are, even if you're not in debt, if you want to compound your wealth and feel safe, people like you, Lisa, you're providing valuable services that your audience will benefit from learning and getting your help. So my advice to them is to work with people like you, or at least give it a try. The only thing that will happen is that their lives will get better. So that's my closing advice to people who are watching. Please reach out to Lisa Marie and ask for her help, or at least have a conversation with you. Their lives will not be the same, it'll only be better.
Thank you for saying that. And Surich, thank you so much for joining me today. I always love to compliment those who take time out of their busy schedules, and it's really a gift. It really is a
Mhm.
gift of time, and probably the most precious gift. Your insight, you've got amazing leadership skills behind you that are pushing you
Thank
forward.
you.
The conflict transformation, oh my gosh, that's awesome because how many people are you setting straight so that they can do a better job for the people that are paying their paychecks, that are writing their paychecks? And then, of course, that
Mhm.
goes both ways. If there's anybody who's listening right now, we're going to put all the information in the show notes so that you can get in touch with Surich and you can ask him how you can benefit from the services that he provides. And clearly, you have a huge heart. So we know that just
Thank
having
you.
a conversation initially would be just a pleasure. I know our listeners are going to take so much away from this time together and the value that you've provided. So, again, thank you, Surich, so much for just being with us today. And I know that the future is blazing bright for you as you continue to make those big, bold moves to continue to grow your abundant life. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
We've all been there, feeling stuck in the grind, chasing that freedom we're aching to find. But what if the answer was clearer than you knew? With numbers and strategy, we'll walk you through. No more
What an incredible conversation. I love how Suraj takes complex ideas and turns them into simple, actionable steps that open new doors. If today's episode stirred something in you, let it be a sign that your next big, bold move is already rising to the surface. If you're ready to create more financial freedom, simply follow a path forward and make choices that lead you to an abundant life, you'll want to schedule your free discovery call with me. There is nothing to lose and so much to gain. Thank you for joining me here at Big Bold Moves Abundant Life, and I will see you next time.